So you don't have to like Samsung at all. But what if they're the reason that like whatever phone you do like is as good as it is? And I know that probably sounds a little dramatic, even sounded dramatic coming out of my mouth. But if we zoom out a little bit, I do think it starts to make sense. There's no other company has done more to push smartphones forward over the past 15 years. Just hear me out. I do not always buy Samsung phones. I do not always like Samsung phones, but I absolutely respect what they've done. And this video is about giving them credit where it's due. When Samsung gets it right, they like really get it right. But keep things fair, this is not like a one-sided love fest. There's also an everything wrong with Samsung video coming or already up. If you want to see the flip side, check that one out too. But today, I want to focus on the good, the positive, the wins, the risks that paid off, and the stuff even non-Samsung users have quietly benefited from. They've taken wild swings, set trends, gotten burned a few times, but they've always come back swinging. And for perspective, I have used every Galaxy S phone. I have used every Note device. I even rocked the S6 Edge when that was a thing. That was a weird time for Samsung. It was the first big experiment with curved displays that looked futuristic, felt premium, in-turn heads. The curve was obviously more about aesthetics and function back then, but it set the stage for the curved screens we see today. I have tested a lot of Samsung phones. The only blind spot in some of my Samsung testing has been some of their A series of devices. But going back, I still remember the very first Note in late 2011. A 5.3-inch display doesn't sound like much, but back then it was wild. I took it to CES in January of 2012, and out of all the phones in my entire career I've ever reviewed out in public, that one got the most attention. People kept stopping to ask, like, wait, like, what phone is that? No one ever seen anything that size before. And the point is, if Samsung hadn't pushed bigger screens when they did, we might still be stuck with little tiny rectangles. I kind of let that one sink in. And that mindset, the mindset of trying something bold and maybe a little crazy, it didn't stop with big screens. I've also tested every foldable they've ever released, so I've seen the whole arc. And while Samsung does not always get it right, they've gotten a lot right. And let's start with foldables, because this is where it all kind of clicked for me. So we're gonna go back to 2019. Samsung launched the Galaxy Fold. So I was at that unveiling in New York. I remember holding it and thinking like, no way this is real. And if you've been around before foldables, you remember what that feeling was when you saw one for the first time. A screen that actually folds, not a dummy unit, not a render, like a legit working phone turned into a tablet when you opened it. That was one of those rare moments where the tech felt absolutely magical to me. Fun side note, that same week I was on stage announcing the all-new Hyundai Sonata, and I was waving that foldable around like it was a trophy. I just couldn't believe that it was like a real thing. And even if you didn't care about Android, seeing a phone that bent in your hand made it feel like the future had finally shown up, even if it wasn't for you. Now, was it perfect? Absolutely not. Hinge was weird. People peeled off, looked like a screen protector, and accidentally destroyed the thing. Samsung had to delay the launch and fix a bunch of stuff in public. It was messy, but they didn't walk away. They improved it, relaunched it, and just kept going. And now the Fold is like a legit, real deal productivity machine. They're stylish, fun, and super practical, kind of in ways I never expected. And it's moved past this like cool concept that faded out. Samsung stuck with it. And now they're leading in the foldable space. I think it makes you wonder, what if they hadn't? Would Apple have ever felt the pressure to explore foldables? Would be stuck in a world with just rectangles and no hinge and no flex and probably less innovation? Sometimes, even when it's messy, pushing forward matters more than playing it safe. And Samsung has done that more than any other company. And part of what makes all that work is the displays, which Samsung dominates. They don't just make the best screens like for themselves, they make them basically for everyone else too. Apple, Google, OnePlus, you name it. If the screen looks amazing, there's a pretty good chance that Samsung built it. The S25 Ultra screen is still like kind of wild to me. It's bright enough to check text in direct sunlight. It's got colors that pop, blacks that actually look black, smooth scrolling. And once you use it, everything else really does feel flat. But what surprised me over the years is how much better their software. has gotten. All right, so while we're talking about things that Samsung got right, especially with the S25 Ultra, here's something that makes a really good phone even better. So you know on the left side of the S25 Ultra, Samsung didn't put anything there, like no buttons at all. It's strange to kind of see on a phone. But then I slapped this video's sponsor, the Pitaka pin button case on it. Now the whole thing makes complete sense. It was like they worked together. So this case, and I've never seen this before in any other case that I can remember, adds 3 actual physical buttons where Samsung left that empty space. And they are fully NFC customizable, whatever you want. I've got mine set to navigate me home because I have a horrible sense of direction. When I'm about to like hit the road, I can open up maps and music all at the same time, so I can just have that ready. Or like when I'm home catching up on some light reading, which doesn't happen as often as I'd like, I just want to relax. I had the button paired to sort of dim the light and then put the phone in silent mode. The case does require the phone to be unlocked before using any of the NFC shortcuts. This is due to Samsung's system and kind of how it handles its requests. It is, again, one of those things, start using it, it's weird how much you rely on it. And in a world of phone cases where they just offer some various degrees of protection, very few actually like give you new features. And this one checks like every box. It's also, aside from the cool buttons, a legit case too. It is really thin. It's not gonna sort of bulk up the phone because it's a big phone already. It also gives you pretty good protection too. It's made from aramid fiber or Napa leather. So it feels good, it's grippy, it looks clean. There's no like flashy nonsense on there too. It also gives you raised bezels to protect the screen, camera bump protection, and probably one of my favorite things aside from the buttons on the side, it adds Qi 2 compatible MagSafe magnets. So I don't know why Samsung doesn't support that out of the box, but this case gives you full sort of MagSafe access, so things like chargers, mounts, all of it works great, which is perfect if you're using Pitaka's Mag Easy Grip 3, and that thing has been absolutely clutch. It's thin, magnetic, a rotating stand that expands, actually holds the phone up. Mostly, I use this in the morning when I'm drinking coffee, and I'll just sort of prop the phone up and scroll through videos. But also helpful when I'm just holding my phone and want to avoid sort of dropping it. In all candor, I really think Samsung built a great phone, the S25 Ultra. I've talked about it in videos, but Pitaka really made it smarter. And if you've got the S25 Ultra, this is hands down a no-brainer if you're looking to get a case that gives good protection and legit adds functionality to it. If you do want to check it out or other Pitaka cases, link will be down below. So back in the TouchWiz days, if you remember, Samsung's UI was, I think, a disaster. And I'll cover that in the flip side of this video. But now, One UI is probably the best Android experience out there, at least one of the top 2 or 3. It's clean, it's customizable, it's smart without being annoying. You can make it look however you want and actually feels like your phone, not just another like launcher on top of Android software. And there's also Dex, which to be honest, I forget about most of the time, but every once in a while I remember it exists and think that like, this is actually pretty amazing. Like you plug your phone into a monitor and suddenly you've got like a full desktop style interface. Real windows, multitasking, file drag and drop, all running off your phone. It is not something I use every day. The fact that it exists, I still think is super cool. It's one of those features that kind of reminds you, Samsung's not afraid to get weird. And sometimes that pays off. And that same like attitude shows up, especially with the S Pen. I think what started off as like a stylish joke is now like a legit power tool. On the S25 Ultra, it's low latency and super precise. I've used it to like mark up PDFs, take notes, control the camera, sketch ideas. One of those things that you don't think you'll care about until you have it, at least for me. And then when you miss it, it is very gone. And same goes for Samsung's approach to AI. I think is easily one of their most kind of underrated strengths right now. So most of the stuff they're using is Google's AI as the base, but kind of layering their own stuff on top. And I think it's the best blends of AI I've seen on a mobile. Circle to search is fast and intuitive. Call translation in real time, not just a flex, it's really useful too. Photo editing, transcription, automatic summaries. It is not just there to show off, it is helpful. And I think that's what AI should be doing, especially on mobile. Now, I haven't lived to Samsung's budget mid-range phones all that much, but even from the outside, you can see how much they matter. The A series has been a really quiet game changer in a lot of markets. These are not watered down flagships. They are solid, reliable phone for people who just want something that works. And Samsung made sure that those people were not left behind. And the cherry on top, 7 years of software updates for the latest flagships. That is insane for Android. And that translates to you don't have to treat your phone like a lease. You can keep it, you can update it, and then you can move on when you're ready, not just when the software taps out. And now with things like the Galaxy S25 Edge, Samsung's showing that they are not done pushing design either. At an insane 5.8 millimeters thick, it is the slimmest phone they have ever made. And in all fairness, we'll probably never know who really had the idea first, Samsung or Apple, but Samsung shipped it first. And that is what matters. And it's another example of them nudging the whole industry forward, forcing everyone, especially Apple, to keep up. And whether you buy one or not, the Edge is proof that Samsung still is not afraid to take these bold swings. And speaking of bold swings, cameras. So the S25 Ultra packs a beastly 200 megapixel main sensor, which is just insane. But it's not just about the numbers, the real magic is in Samsung's processing. So Samsung's Pro Visual Engine uses AI to enhance details, it's reducing noise, and improve low light performance. The ultra-wide lens got a boost to 50 megapixels, making landscape shots and group photos sharper than ever. And it's got things like 10-bit HDR video and Galaxy Log recording. Like, people are using their camera for content, just have more tools to play with. But beyond the hardware, Samsung's camera software has matured like crazy. Scene optimization, improved night mode, better dynamic range, make it easier to get shots without fiddling around with settings. And I think it's a testament to how far they've come. And a big play for Samsung is ecosystem. In the US, if you're not in Apple's walled garden, your options are really limited for an ecosystem play. But Samsung's is the closest rival here. Galaxy Buds, Galaxy Watch, Galaxy Tabs, SmartThings, they all play nicely together. Features like auto switch for earbuds, seamless file sharing with quick share, syncing notes across devices, making the experience just like cohesive. Now, it is far from perfect, but is a solid alternative for those who want integration without switching to the Apple side of things. These are a lot of things that Samsung has been doing right. And without Samsung's big swings, without them pushing for better displays, without them pushing for larger screens, without them trying to change the form factor of a phone, I do not think the smartphone market in the US or anywhere else would be remotely the same. I think eventually Apple would have gone bigger, and eventually screen technology would have gotten better. Stylus would have probably eventually come back at some point, but I don't think we would have seen foldables like we have right now. And whether you love Samsung or you hate Samsung, it is hard to deny the impact that they've had, especially the first time you saw one of their wild swings sort of out in somebody's hand. So the first time you saw S6 Edge, or the first time you saw Fold in the wild, that was a really cool feeling as somebody who loves tech. If that is you, let me know in the comments that we're in the same club. And look, you don't have to like Samsung again to appreciate what they've done. You don't have to buy their phones or use their apps. But if you care about smartphones getting better, whatever smartphone it is, faster innovation, bolder ideas, actual competition, and Samsung deserves some credit, because a lot of what we take for granted in phones today, they help make happen. And nope, Samsung is clearly not like perfect. They've got I've got a whole other video lined up talking about the stuff that they've got wrong. But if you zoom out for a second, say what you want about Samsung, messy, bloated, experimental. Without them, the smartphone game would be way less exciting. So if you do have a Samsung favorite feature, let me know in the comments. Hit the like button, we appreciate it, because we're going to flip the script again, talk about everything wrong with Samsung. That was a long video, and there is plenty to say.